going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
We need to get community. We need this thing to be bigger than just our little circle of players and coaches.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Oregon!
With 2 seconds on the clock. He hits it!
That's the bigger picture in this thing, allowing the community to celebrate the hard work, blue-collar mentality this group brings to the table.
And the Ducks have won it! The Ducks have won!
We get to struggle together, and we get to have joy together.
The Ducks are Pac-12 champions!
I am so proud right now to be the head coach at Oregon.
Catch made! Touchdown, Oregon!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
We have a busy show for you today. Just came from practice. The Ducks were inside the Soeli Center today, and I talked with offensive coordinator Will Stein. We'll have that as part of your 2 o'clock pregame show, Pacific time, across the Oregon Sports Network this upcoming weekend. 4 o'clock kick. It's actually officially, I think, a 4:10 kickoff. I'm looking forward to this test. I think this is a real test for the Ducks. Texas Tech has made a habit of winning games at home. Beat Oklahoma and Texas there last year. It was Joey McGuire, who we're going to hear from, the head coach for Texas Tech's first season. Similar story. First season for Dan Lanning. These two teams, I think they both realize it's going to be a big test. And Texas Tech coming off a tough loss to Wyoming. We'll talk about that. Maybe that factors in. We'll see. Quarterback Bo Nix met with the media this week. Also, the leading tackler from Game 1 for the Ducks, a new linebacker on the roster this season, Connor Soeli. We'll hear from him. Graeme Abel talking with the media this week, Oregon soccer head coach. The Ducks are in action tonight against California Baptist, 7 o'clock start at Pape Field. We'll see you there. And then Matt Ulmer met with the media as well, Oregon volleyball head coach, before 2 top 15 matchups in the Pac-12 Big Ten Challenge upcoming Friday and Saturday, both 4:30 starts. And then Kelly Graves, surprise addition to the show. Kelly Graves, Oregon women's basketball head coach, talked with everybody this morning after their foreign trip. We'll hear a little bit from Coach Graves today as well. Let's hear from Bo Nix, Duck quarterback, ahead of the matchup with Texas Tech at 4 o'clock on Saturday. QB1, Bo Nix.
Their coaching staff is pretty critical of how they played defensively at Wyoming, talking about that they weren't disciplined in their pass rush lanes and stuff. When you're trying to read a defense, if they're not doing what they're quote-unquote supposed to be, how much more difficult does that make your job, if at all?
You know, sometimes it's tough because you may know what they're trying to do schematic wise on defense, and if they, you know, if something changes or if somebody's out of gap, it can actually throw off the offense sometimes. So, you know, all that is just, you know, seeing where they are and, you know, expecting them to be somewhere, but then just reacting, you know, if they're in different spots. But they got a good defense.
After watching the film, just what did you learn about your offense maybe that you didn't feel you had full understanding of during fall camp?
You know what, you just finally get to see guys in real action, a lot of new guys, a lot of, you know, guys that weren't with us last year. You get to see how, you know, they respond to a competitive environment like that. And so I thought we did a good job of playing clean. That was really the main thing is we played a sharp game, kind of did what we were supposed to do.
When you're going into a week where the opposing defensive coordinator has coached at this school and players on your team have played for him, are you having conversations with like a Jamal or a Steve or Jeff or any of these guys about him, or what's the approach with that familiarity?
But, you know, yeah, they you know, spent some time with him, but most coaches change, you know, as they go to other places and get different players, and they'll change some calls and stuff. So we've had, you know, spoken to him a little bit briefly just about, you know, their identity maybe, but, you know, it's hard necessarily to just sit down with them and kind of scheme them up.
What is said about maybe the identity of the Tim DeRuyter defense, or what kind of notes have you heard?
Well, I mean, he's going to do a really good job. He's going to have a sound defense. They're going to bring some pressures. They're going to play a lot of different various coverages, and you just got to get your eyes up.
What's it like playing in Texas? You've played there before. You're no stranger to it. Is it a different vibe down there?
You know, it's, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily any different from a normal road environment. You know, they're going to have a hostile crowd. It's going to be a good road game, and you know, we're going to have to go in there and play well. We're going to have to communicate with each other and just really execute the plays that are called.
What's the hottest game you have played in?
That's a good question. You know, I'm not quite sure exactly temperature-wise, but I played at Florida and, you know, in Texas a few times. You know, it gets hot down in South Alabama at Auburn, so you know, I'm not exactly sure the exacts, but you know, we'll be ready for it, and we've been training hard for it.
When you watch Texas Tech's defense on film, what stands out? What I guess personnel groups are impress you?
You know, their back end, I think, is you know, experienced. They played a lot of football together. They're going to be sharp back there. They're going to, you know, I think they're going to be in the right spot a lot. They're not going to have many busts, and so they're going to play good, sound football, and we're just going to have to, you know, do our best to execute.
What have you seen Troy Franklin do just in this third year at the program to kind of up his game after obviously a really good sophomore season?
Well, he's done a great job, you know, off the field, away from football. He's really, you know, focused up. You know, he's done a lot of things, changed a lot of things, you know, in his daily habits. I think he's, you know, more focused. He was always a smart guy, but now he's really diving into film study and really diving into our schemes. You know, he's asking really great logical questions. You know, if they do this, what do you want me to do? And you know, that's valuable from a guy like that who's played a lot of football already, but he's still wanting to grow and you know, change his ways and you know, grow as a player, grow as a person. And so I've seen a lot of change out of him. I've been really proud of him.
Tyler Shuck is obviously another veteran quarterback we'll be going up against. He played quarterback here for a little bit. What have you heard about him, and kind of what do you see from him on film?
Well, I know, you know, he's going to be a respected quarterback. He's going to do a good job. You know, a lot of that's just for the defense to go in there and, you know, handle him. And then I obviously, you know, I know Tyler from Manning Passing Academy and, you know, just from playing here. And so a lot of our guys have played with him and going to be, you know, their first time playing against him. And so I know he's going to be ready for the game. I know he's a very respected quarterback.
I know it's obviously
Last question.
a different level of opponent this week, but is there anything that stood out on the film from week one that you really just want to clean up this week? That,
you know, I think just the little things, maybe just as an offense, going from, you know, playing sharp to really playing like, you know, perfect football identity, you know, playing sound and playing really good, you know, with tags and with routes and getting our depth and taking right drops, taking right footwork, being perfect, and those kind of things, I think will really help us, you know, being even sharper for the remainder of the season.
Duck quarterback Bo Nix talking with the media there, and you know, I'll give you a little preview of what offensive coordinator Will Stein said for our pregame interview coming up as part of our 2 o'clock pregame show on Saturday. The Ducks did do a lot of things well, but still things to clean up on. Even when you score 81 points, still things to clean up on. And again, we'll have that full conversation with Will Stein coming up as part of the pregame show on Saturday. And he gave a lot of insight into what the Ducks are working on. Now to the defensive side of the ball. Connor Soeli, a new addition to the roster. Last year was a sophomore at Arizona State. Played in all 12 games, started in 2 of them. And he was Oregon's leading tackler with all of 5 tackles because the Ducks played so many guys on defense. Connor Soeli will also be featured on the pregame show. Ryan Milano sat down with him. But he also talked with everybody else this week, getting to know him a little bit and what he took away from week 1 for the Duck defense. Here's Connor Soeli.
For those of us who haven't asked you yet, how do you pronounce your last name?
So it's Soeli.
Soeli.
I usually tell people like Soeli. So
we don't screw that up.
how do you think you guys, just as a linebacker group, fared in week 1 against Portland State?
I think we had a good week. You know, there's always a lot to improve and work on, but overall, I think we had great effort just as a position group. You know, we've worked a lot in the offseason just to perfect our craft and get better, and I think that showed a little bit. Obviously, there's things that we can fix, like I said, but I think we were happy overall with how we did, and looking forward to applying it into week 2 as well.
Where's the tackling, just in terms of it? I know it's obviously week 1, but in terms of where you guys want it to be, do you feel like you saw some signs of progress there in that first game?
Yeah, I know the coaches made a big emphasis on us improving our tackling going into week 1, just because of things in the past, but that was something that we prioritized a lot through fall camp. You know, we had some live scrimmages, and I think it did show on Saturday that, you know, we've worked on those things. Can always be better. It's week 1, so you can only do so much live tackling against your own teammates. So I think we did good overall. Definitely room for improvement, but I think overall we were happy.
Tell us a little bit about this big play scepter and what what you know about it, what are the origins of it, and how it gets rewarded?
Yeah, so big play scepter. I mean, it's in the name. You just got to make a big play, you know. So I know that there's some cool ideas that they have going into that. I don't really focus on it too much. I think for me, it's really just if I do get the opportunity to make a big play, you know, I'm trying to do that for my team, and then the scepter is just something that kind of comes along with it. But I think it's really cool that Oregon always, you know, has these little things that set them apart from a lot of other schools, like the scepter. It's a really creative idea, and that's something that not a lot of places get the opportunity to do. So.
For Betcher to get the first one of the year, just how cool was it for him? And what have you seen from him just in the last few weeks that sort of enabled him to take on this role?
Yeah, I mean, Betcher is an amazing competitor. I think as a teammate, everyone on the team has a lot of respect for him. You know, dual sport athlete here at Oregon, and you just kind of see how hard he works every day, and you can just really appreciate and respect that as a teammate. But I was really excited for him. Anybody on the team, I mean, everybody on this team is so connected that anytime anybody makes a big play, it's just everyone's so happy for him and excited for him. But being a linebacker, of course, you love to see your guy make a play like that, and it was really cool to see him have that opportunity.
Texas Tech is really making a big focus about how Tyler had a couple of passes batted down at the line this past week, and been an issue for him before, and two of them were on him, two were other issues. When you're a box defender, when you're inside the box guy, like, it's always an emphasis, I'm sure, to keep hands up when the quarterback's ready to throw. But when you know he's vulnerable to that, extra emphasis, you know, extra important in that kind of a situation this week.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any advantage that we can get over our opponents, we're always going to find a way to do that. But just on top of that, and as an in-box player, that's a part of your technique. That's a part of, you know, your game. So regardless of what quarterback you're playing, whether it's one that has maybe specific issues with that or someone who's just, you know, playing normal too, that's always going to be something that you try to focus on and try to execute. So yeah, of course it's a emphasis for us as a defense, but just overall in general, that's something that we always try to focus on and preach, and just getting our hands up to affect the quarterback, affect the ball every play. So
Coach Locke able to help you guys at all this week with insight on their offense? He worked previously with their OC and their O-line coach, so he knows quite a bit about their scheme and how they go about things. So able to give you guys some insight.
Yeah, I think we have a really great understanding of how their offense works. You know, just our defensive staff alone too, just in how they scout and how they prepare. I think they give us players every opportunity that we need to be successful. So overall, I feel like we have a good plan for them, and defensively, as long as we can execute the plan our coaches give us, I think we'll have a good opportunity to win the game. So.
You've not played at Texas Tech before, but you have played in Arizona when it's 100+ degrees in September and August. What is the challenge as a defensive guy when it's 95 to 100 degrees for hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a challenge. That's something that we all know. But again, it comes down to your preparation. That's something that we've worked a lot on all fall camp, is, you know, trying to put ourselves in those environments where it's a little bit hotter, practicing later in the afternoon, things like that. But I think just as a defense and as a team overall, we don't really have to change any style of play for us. We just have to really focus on our preparation and staying hydrated and making sure that we're prepared for that heat and that type of environment. But, you know, I feel like our team has really put an emphasis on that and really been focusing on that. So I think that we'll have a good grasp on being able to handle it.
How do you guys go about preparing for a 6'9" tight end? I know you might not necessarily get matched up with them a ton, but what's that look been like in practice?
Yeah, I mean, our coaches do a great job of giving us good looks, putting the right scout players in positions that we kind of get a similar type of look for us. But really, technique-wise, not much changes. It's just having that focus and that emphasis on, hey, this is a taller guy, it's a bigger guy. You know, really focusing on playing through the hands. You know, trying to put yourself in a good body position against a guy like that. But overall, technique stays the same. Just kind of realizing and understanding who your matchup is.
Connor Soeli, a lot of great stuff from him, talking about the Duck defense and what to expect from this Texas Tech offense when the Ducks square off with the Red Raiders in Lubbock coming up on Saturday at 4 o'clock. By the way, tomorrow we will have an early edition of Duck Insider. Those of you who watch the show live, we will have Duck Insider going from 10:30 to 11:30. And then Jerry Jorge and I are headed to the airport, joining the team, flying out to Lubbock. So an early show if you watch the show live tomorrow. Our terrestrial affiliates across the Oregon Sports Network, nothing changes for you. If you're listening on one of our radio stations across the Oregon Sports Network, same time, same place for Duck Insider. We're just going to do our preview, the three of us, and then make some picks live from 10:30 to 11:30 tomorrow morning. A little bit of a view from the other side of this matchup. Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire, he met with the media this week. We've got some of the highlights coming up next. The view of Oregon from the other side. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Earlier this week, Joey McGuire, great name, by the way. I mean, just look, from one Joey to another, I appreciate Coach McGuire just sticking with the little kid name. It's how you should do it. Joey McGuire, the head coach for Texas Tech, second-year head coach. He started out his press conference talking a little bit about University of Oregon and actually some staff connections between these two groups.
On a great team, you know, Oregon Ducks. Got to watch a lot of film of them from last year, and then, of course, on Saturday they're a really talented football team, and so it's going to be a great test for us. Don't know Coach Lanning very well. I met him at the draft. You know, he had a corner drafted last year, and know a lot of people that do know him. Great guy. He's done a phenomenal job. You know, last year he did a great job year one, and, he and I are sitting in the same boat year two at our schools. I do know their offensive coordinator really well. Will is a Texas high school football coach. He was at Lake Travis, was at UTSA as their offensive coordinator, did a phenomenal job with them. And then their co-defensive coordinator, I know him really well, Chris Hampton. He was at Tulane, and he recruited Cedar Hill for a long time, so know him really well. Excited to see those guys.
That was Joey McGuire, head coach for Texas Tech. Now, continuing about the Ducks, he actually was very complimentary about Oregon's personnel. Joey McGuire, take two.
Talking about extremely talented team. We're looking at the numbers of snaps that they've taken. They're one of the few teams probably in the country that are a little bit older than us. Got a great quarterback, an NFL quarterback in Bo Nix. Got an NFL running back, and Bucky, number 0, Bucky Irving. And then they've got an NFL receiver. I know that they have other NFL players on offense, but, man, those three guys really stand out and are really good football players. And then defensively, their defensive line really stands out. Very physical as a defense, and you expect that from a head coach that's a defensive coordinator. He was at Georgia, and the way they play, you expect a guy their defense is going to play really hard. So we're going to get that out of Oregon.
That was I thought, a great scouting report talking about NFL talent for the Ducks. Continuing with Joey McGuire, Texas Tech head coach. Look, we know that Oregon overmatched Portland State in week 1, winning 81-7. And so he got asked this week about takeaways when a game like that happens on film. What do you take away from Oregon's week 1 performance on the Red Raider side?
They're playmakers, you know. Bo's a year older too, and he's a seasoned quarterback. I mean, he's a guy that could have come out and he would have got drafted, you know, and he decided to come back. And, man, I love whenever guys do that. I think it's great for the player to keep growing. I think it's great for the university. And so you see that he's more decisive throwing the football. He's got a big arm, so, you know, you saw that last year. But you know, you see their playmakers. I mean, they're extremely explosive on offense. This is going to be one of the best backs and backfield that we face all year long, but probably the best back we face all year long. And so you see that jumps off. And then they have a quad they're different on defense. I mean, they have some returning starters, but they also have a bunch of guys that this will be their first year starting for Oregon, not college football, but it's first year starting for Oregon. And so you see the improvement on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so improvement on the defensive side of the ball just in 1 week, according to head coach Joey McGuire for Texas Tech. Also, look, they had a tough week 1. You go on the road to Wyoming. Oregon's been there. Tough place to be in Laramie. Texas Tech fans, though, wanted to win there. Texas Tech wanted to win there. So Joey McGuire asked about takeaways from that week 1 loss at Wyoming.
Message is really don't let Wyoming beat you twice. Like, no matter what happens Saturday, we cannot allow last Saturday to affect us other than learning from it, right? And the biggest, though, thing that we have to improve is don't beat yourself. If you look at their, I want to say, first 3 points as far as like 2 touchdowns and a field goal, it could have been the first 4. Every drive was continued by us.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting hearing Coach McGuire say that. So talk about execution on the Oregon side a lot. Well, the Red Raiders are saying, hey, they shot themselves in the foot too many times. That's what led to that week 1 loss on the road. Now they're at home, a little different. But I'm curious, just like I think everybody else is, what the environment will be like in Lubbock. I've never been there before. Jerry and Jorgie have been there once, but I've never been there before. Ducks all-time are 2-0 against this Texas Tech program. But the point I'm getting at is I can understand that Red Raider fans, and there's been a lot of conversation about this around their fan base, they're upset after that week 1 loss. And I got to tell you, I really loved this answer from head coach Joey McGuire on fans that are maybe a bit upset with an 0-1 start.
I've heard this, you know, before, and I get it, man. They're fans, and I totally understand it. And trust me, I feel the exact same way. There's nothing that's been written or put in social media that I feel the exact same way. I mean, trust me, I'm saying it in my own head. And, you know, some of the comments in my own head if that would have got out on social media, you ought to have been all going like, what's this dude saying? Did he really just say that? And so I get it. The one thing I will say about showing up that I'll never question with the Red Raider fans and alumni, they're going to show up. They have great pride in this university, and they showed up in Wyoming. I was so proud to walk through that crowd wearing the red and black. And, you know, I don't see anybody staying away, and I hope they don't, you know, because it's going to be a great home opener. There's so many great things going on. I mean, you're going to see – we're seeing iron being put up now for the second level. You've got a brand new field. The lighting's going to be incredible, and we're going to play really hard. You know, we're going to play really hard for them. And so you can't the people, whenever you're talking about fans, you can't be a fair weather fan. You're either in or you're not. You know, and if you're in, say whatever you want to say. If you're not in and you're not all the way in, that's when you maybe need to shut your mouth. You know, and so I'm one of those guys that I'm all in. This team's all in, and I know this fan base is all in. It's going to be a great opportunity. That's the word that we've used a lot, even before the Wyoming game. That we have a great opportunity in front of us.
I really like that answer from Coach McGuire. I mean, you know, look, he gets it. He's saying the same things in his head. I thought that was awesome to hear. And so I am curious, though, truthfully, what the fan base is going to be like. I know they've got some traditions that we'll get to see firsthand, but I don't know what to expect from the Red Raider fan base. But I feel like they're going to show up because it is a big opportunity. Even with that week 1 loss, suddenly you win this game at home against Oregon, and it's like, oh, we're back. We'll see what happens. Coming up next, Oregon soccer's in action tonight. A little preview with Graeme Abel, their head coach. That's next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear roads, trails, and rivers. Ready for some SUV action? Drive family adventures with the Highlander. Make a splash with the RAV4. Or haul fun with the Sequoia. Check them at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Sharp Turns, Toyota has more all-wheel drive sedans than any other brand. Get a grip in the stylish Camry, the elegant Crown, the striking new Prius, or the sharp Corolla. Get to Toyota.com already. Toyota, let's go places.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, loss of who you thought you is.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here in the Country Financial Studio. Tonight at 7 o'clock, televised on Pac-12 Oregon, Duck Soccer against California Baptist. Young team for head coach Graeme Abel, and have taken some bumps, there's no doubt about it, but have played a lot of players, and I feel like this team's going to find a stride with some of the new faces that Graeme Abel is playing. Also, a lot of players that are still coming back from injury. KWVA's got the broadcast tonight as well. Who's on the call? Levi's on the call. Okay, so you'll be able to tune in on Pac-12 Oregon and on KWVA tonight. Head coach Graeme Abel met with the media previewing Ducks at home here this evening.
Well, lessons learned from the long road trip, and how glad are you to be back at home?
Definitely glad to be back home. No, listen, I mean, I think we've got such a young group in terms of it's all the lessons, how we travel, how we prepare, how we're in hotels, how we adjust to the different pieces of food and things like that. So tons of lessons to learn, and we're doing all right with it. Like I said, we're such a I want to say the word young, inexperienced group, that it's really good to get the experience for these kids for later down the line.
Are you seeing the resiliency? You feel like you probably need to push through a situation like this?
No, without a doubt. It's these kids all come from really, really good programs where they've consistently won, and that was one of the reasons why we recruited them and brought them in. They were all top players within that environment. So no, I think if you're not careful, you see on the practice field do this, and we haven't. I mean, we just had probably one of our better sessions of the year this morning. The energy was fantastic. They're moving the ball really well, great attitude to all the different pieces. So, we still feel really good about the group.
Obviously, the offense kind of started to come together there, had the couple goals versus Northern Arizona. What's the next step? How do you maintain that offensively?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we're still getting too stretched as a group. The spaces from our back line up to the front line are too big, so we're putting too much too much weight on the front line in terms of them holding the ball up and doing all the work in terms of the attacking side of the game, and obviously that's their job, but they can't do it just the 4 of them up top or the 5 of them up top. We need reinforcements to come underneath to build greater depth below the ball, and so we can sustain attacks, keep the ball in the attacking part of the field. So it's continuing to build on those pieces to give that front 5 more help.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of things you feel like you can fix, clean up, improve on. What are things you like so far? What are some things you felt like that's going about as well as we might have hoped right now?
Yeah, I mean, when we do get behind teams, we're stretching teams without a doubt. I felt as though from a defending standpoint, we've started to click into gear for the early parts of games. Obviously we conceded the goal there against Northern Arizona, but I thought for the first 20 versus Grand Canyon we were really good. In terms of getting pressure to the ball and things like that. And then you see there's little moments where we're able to, get players faced up into spaces, the things that we talk about. And I think you see certain combinations starting to happen. So little glimpses, and they're happening more and more, but we're obviously aware we need to put it together for 90 minutes.
Obviously, one of the storylines of this season is going to be the goalkeeper. It's coming off of last year especially. How would you grade Maddie's performance so far? What are you looking for her to improve as she goes forward?
I think, good shot stopping's been great, you know what I mean, in terms of that. She's done a really good job with that. I think she's handled set pieces really well as an individual. I think their control overall over the back line and the space behind the back line needs to continue to improve. And we talk about that every day. Goalkeepers have to get a hold of the 2 centre backs, get a hold of the 2 outside backs, and make sure they can control the space between themselves and that back 4. So there's really good competition within all 4 of the goalkeepers. Really, it's been so good that we've been taking 3 of them on the road. You know what I mean? Typically we take 2 on the road. We've been taking 3 of them on the road to keep the competition good. So Maddie's been doing well, but the 3 behind them have been pushing her as well.
Tomorrow's opponent, their form of play, do they remind you of any other team you've seen already this season?
Yeah, shapes are similar, you know what I mean? They're athletic, again, we scheduled these teams for a reason. They're good teams, they'll go forward quickly off a transition, and so we need to be aware of that piece. We need to do what we're able to do to kill the transition. Number one, we spoke about it, we need to keep a hold of the ball more. You kill transitions by not giving the ball away. So when we're up into those higher parts of the field, it's not, taking a shot in the dark at times, it's completing 1 or 2 extra passes so we can keep the ball in that part of the field.
The starting lineup, you've rotated a few different players in and out. Has that been more of a function of who's available? Have you been trying to see what you have, and what's the plan going forward?
A little bit. I'd still got the 3 coming off of their ACLs, so they weren't able to train and play in the spring. And they're 3 players who, we knew had big futures for us, so they've been on minute restrictions. Those minute restrictions are kind of coming off now. We knew that at the start of the year, so we had to play them in and taking them out halfway through halves or at halftime, and so that's played something into the rotation a little bit. We're pretty close now to a settled starting 11.
Anything you'd like to say about Callan Harrington? Obviously, long journey for her. Start with the minutes restriction. Now she's kind of getting that starting role. What can you say about her and what she's done so far, both on and off the field?
I can say a lot about Callan, but all good things. I mean, she's such a big energy kid, and anytime that kid walks in a room, she lights the room up, and she's just so direct, and she's got a nose for it, and it's given her the freedom to go at players and run at players and running behind. I mean, you don't score that amount of goals at any level without having an idea where the goal is, and so she's a threat more and more. So we've got to continue to find ways to isolate her and set her up. But I don't know if you guys have interviewed her or not yet, but you need to get her on here because she's just a massive character. It's pretty cool, really cool kid.
The goal she had last week, I mean, I know my soccer knowledge is limited, but the degree of difficulty looked pretty high on that goal.
Yeah, I mean, she's gambled and just ran behind, and there's a certain knack to that of, you're seeing a ball coming through and you're taking a chance on running onto something that might not get to you, and she's kind of got that nose for it, where she ran on, and a great little touch with her chest, and then obviously there's the pressure on the inside of her, pressure of the goalkeeper coming, and she lifts it over the 2 of them. So it's I think, Callan had such a great start to the season last year. I think in the spring of last year when she was fit, she was exceptional in the spring scoring goals. And so that's what Callan does, you know what I mean? And so, she's so happy she's back playing. And, just to see that kid smile, and because that's what she wants to do. She wants to play and to see her smile and have joy and fun doing that is so cool to see.
I'm sure you knew there were going to be bumps going into the season early on. What's your message to the team? How do you kind of get them to mentally stay in the right place and not be too worried about the results while still, obviously there's a pressure to succeed?
We're a good team, you know what I mean? We just haven't put it all together again. I mean, it's, we show them on video, but when we do put it together, how good it can be. It's getting their input as well. It's finding out from them, hey, what more do you need from us as a coaching staff, and in terms of things, and and we just tell them all the time when we're not far away, and it's not been consistent mistakes that have hurt us. It's been mistake here that maybe we're a little bit naive with regards to this piece, so we need to do a better job as a coaching staff of coaching that piece. We get that piece taken care of, okay, and then something else, and then it's not been the same thing consistently happening. So it's lessons we've taken, it's lessons we continue to teach as coaches, and so we're hoping that as we continue along here, those get less and less.
A lot of the minutes, a lot of the starts, a lot of the productions come from freshmen. What can you say about their performance, and are there any standout performers you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, Kristen Conti, she's one who's obviously a redshirt freshman. She did her ACL before she got here last year, and she's now virtually full go now in terms of being released from all her pieces. She's going to be such a good player here at Oregon. She's big, she's strong, she's athletic, she's a smart kid, good in the air, prototypical centre back, good pace. So she's been great. Mia McSweeney's taken a bout of minutes right away. Ryan Reynolds was good for us last weekend in terms of holding the ball up. We had such a kind of Nate took such a brunt for us last year of playing up top and tied towards the end of the season. So Ryan's able to help her out. Livy, even though I think she got a couple of games in last season, she's still a freshman in terms of getting her minutes. I could go on about all the freshmen. They've all done exceptional well. Mary Snyder, in terms of she's learning. It's difficult to play in that role on your own as a 6, and I thought she was exceptional against Missouri State when she did it. So they're learning lessons all the time, and so it's us to continue to keep them in a good place and a good headspace, because they're doing well.
How are your veterans holding up? We talked to some of your veterans going into this season.
Yeah.
New leadership roles for them.
Yeah.
How are they handling, there's some pressure on them, I'm sure, to kind of keep the ship going the right direction too.
Yeah, I spoke to them. I mean, when we say veterans, our veterans are like our sophomores in terms of it. So, we have a couple of juniors, and they've done a good job. Joanna Phillips has, been around here, and, I think she was the only freshman playing in the 21 season. So she's seen that piece as well. And so they've been good about getting to different people without the locker room. The 4 leaders, it's Nay, Livy, Trinity, and Anna Phillips have done a good job, because they're all different types of characters, and we felt as though they could get to different people within the locker room, and so they've done a nice job of that, of just getting to different people and making sure different people are in a good place.
You talked some about the shape of California Baptist. What are you highlighting for your players going against a really experienced California Baptist team, and Denver at home as well? What are you highlighting for the team?
We're a team that's, and we've always been this way, and even more so right now, we need to focus on ourselves. Whenever you do a scout report, you're always gonna, you'd be naive to not to mention an opposition or things like that. But it's focusing on us and making sure we play to the best of our ability, because we believe in the talents that we have, we believe in the characters we have in the team. So it's making sure that they perform to the best of their ability.
Man, I'm really rooting for that team. Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, taking some bumps, a young team, hopefully breaking through tonight, getting that first victory. Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, 7 o'clock tonight, Duck Soccer in action at Pape Field. When we come back, it's your Slocomb Center Minute. Also, Matt Ulmer's Oregon volleyball team on the road, here from the Duck volleyball head coach. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear roads, trails, and rivers. Ready for some SUV action? Drive family adventures with the Highlander. Make a splash with the RAV4, or haul fun with a Sequoia. Check them at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Dear Sharp Turns, Toyota has more all-wheel drive sedans than any other brand. Get a grip in the stylish Camry, the elegant Crown, the striking new Prius, or the sharp Corolla. Get to Toyota.com already. Toyota, let's go places.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Slocomb Center Minute. Slocomb Center physicians are located here in Eugene and are the orthopedic team physicians for your beloved Oregon Ducks. Joining us today is Dr. Denise Routhier. Doc, we're talking bones today. What causes fractures?
So there are two main ways that athletes get fractured, either the result of a traumatic injury, either in contact sports or just a bad fall. The other way athletes can get a fracture is through a stress fracture, which is basically repetitive overuse to a bone. This happens most commonly in running, but really can occur in all kinds of athletics. Stress fractures usually occur in the foot, ankle, the shin bone, and the hip.
Stress fracture, an indication that the body's telling you to slow down a little bit?
Basically, yep. You haven't given your body time to recover from the insults you're putting on it.
What can athletes expect after being diagnosed with a fracture?
Well, I mean, the first step is to actually diagnose a fracture. Most traumatic fractures are pretty easy to diagnose with a plain x-ray. Stress fractures can be a little tricky to diagnose. Sometimes they'll show up on a plain x-ray, but other times we need to do some further advanced imaging with either an MRI, a CT scan, or a bone scan. Unfortunately, in athletics, any type of fracture requires some time off from sport. They need to be immobilized and rested to allow that bone to heal.
And that was the Slocomb Center Minute, brought to you by Slocomb Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, orthopedic team physicians for University of Oregon Athletics since 1967.
Jerry Allen on the Slocomb Center Minute talking about fractures this week. And now we continue talking with Matt Ulmer, Oregon Volleyball head coach. The Ducks are on the road. And in fact, after he's done directing the show, Knight is catching a flight tonight, headed out on the call. You can listen tonight on KWVA, 4:30, Duck Volleyball against Minnesota tomorrow. Do you have a pregame show? It's going on at 4:30? 4:30 it is. All right, 4:30 for both broadcast airtime on KWVA and on Pac-12 Network for the TV broadcast. Minnesota, the opponent tomorrow at 4:30 for Duck Volleyball. And then at 4:30 on Saturday on Pac-12 Insider and on KWVA with Knight, Ohio State, the opponent. Two top 15 teams for Oregon Volleyball. Head coach Matt Ulmer met with the media this week.
Your big takeaway so far these first couple of weekends?
That we do a lot of things really well. I was really excited about our serving this weekend. That's normally a big point of emphasis for us. If we can be a good serving team, then we're going to be pretty tough to beat. And we're going to have to do that really well against two really good offenses coming up. We have to find more people that want to dig balls. Brooke Nunneviller's not coming back, and so we're going to need a lot more people that are defensive minded, so just challenging the team to do that more. But overall, we're doing a lot of things really well.
Is that falling mainly on Georgia? Is that falling on a smattering of people?
Yeah, more of a team effort. Just more people are going to have to cover the area better. And I thought our last match against Pepperdine, message was received, and we definitely responded well from that. So hopefully that was something we could take away from the weekend. But it was definitely a weakness going into that match, and ended up, we had a lot of growth there.
He's been really efficient offensively. How do you feel? Mimi's kind of been setting the tone, but then kind of the other attackers around her, just the variety of the attack you can put forth right now.
Yeah, I think that's it. We're passing the ball well enough that Hannah has options, and everybody that Hannah can set is good, and they can all score really well. So we don't just have to rely on Mimi. We have a lot of weapons for Hannah, and Hannah's one of the best setters out there, so the offense is in good hands. But yeah, we're making a lot of good choices, and I think it's just really stressing the defenses.
With so much travel, is it kind of hard to work on things throughout the week? Like what does the typical week look like with this non-conference traveling schedule?
Yeah, last week was tough. We really didn't have any practice. You just kind of do some refresher things, but nothing where you can really do too much. So today was nice. We could go back and kind of break some things down that we noticed that we need to get better at, and so we have the next couple days to do that before we leave on Thursday. And we needed it. We just played 6 matches, and so we need to go back and kind of pinpoint some things. So hopefully that will help us moving forward. But we're learning a lot through play right now, and I think we saw a lot of growth throughout that time, and hopefully we can continue to do that as the level increases as we go.
So when you get some practice time, what's your top priority? What's something you came home and said, okay, I'd like to see us get better at this?
Yeah, even though the offense has been good, there's some things offensively that we would have to do better to be successful. We're about to see a much more physical block. So we need to be able to play at a higher point and work the ball off the block more than maybe what we were able to do the last couple of weeks and be successful. So that's a big thing. Our block needs to continue to set up better and protect against some different types of swings that we didn't do a good job with. And then, like I alluded to earlier, we have to want to dig a hard-driven ball. We need some much more defensive mentality-like type players on the court right now for us. It felt like if it wasn't right at us, we weren't really interested, and that's not going to be good enough with the schedule that we have moving forward. So we're going to need a lot of growth there, and so those are things we're working on right now.
What are some of the challenges you expect to see this weekend from these Big Ten teams?
Yeah, Minnesota and Ohio State have some of the best pin attackers in the country. Minnesota's both of their outsides were both former #1 recruits in the country, so you don't see that very often where they have 2 on one team. So we're definitely going to be challenged because they don't necessarily have to have a good pass to put a lot of pressure on you with their offense. So we've served great here the last 4 matches, and that definitely has to continue if we're going to have a chance. So if we serve easy with them, it's going to be really difficult for us. So that's a big one. And then just the size of their block is going to be much more physical than what we've seen here in the last couple of weeks. So how will we deal with that? We're a pretty physical team, so hopefully that's something that we will enjoy, but that's what I want to remind them at practice.
Is this going to feel like an NCAA tournament weekend, kind of?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about this tournament historically for us is it's been like a Sweet 16 Elite 8 atmosphere, right, where you have to play back-to-back. We now have that off day in between, but the idea of playing 2 high-level opponents in the same weekend, and resetting and having to do that again. We haven't been able to do that. We've gone 1-1 a couple times, right, losing the Elite 8. So this is the best we can do to kind of set us up for what that will feel like. And it's a neutral site, which could be something that we play in later on. So it's a good test for us, and we're ready for it. We need to go play against a really high-level team and see kind of where we stand and what more we need to work on.
Matt Ulmer's Oregon volleyball team on the road, top 25 meetings, top 15 meetings Friday and Saturday. Oregon soccer's in action tonight, Thursday. When we come back, Kelly Graves also met with the media this morning. Women's basketball head coach, a late addition to the lineup for today's show. Back after this with Coach Graves talking about their foreign trip on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. So earlier today, Kelly Graves, Oregon women's basketball head coach, met with the media, talked for over 10 minutes. We won't get to all of it today. It will be available on the Go Ducks YouTube for those of you interested in hearing a little more about the 4 and tour, the roster, what the Ducks expect heading into this upcoming season. Head coach Kelly Graves talking women's basketball.
To me, on Saturday, you've been taking kids over since like the 90s, and this was the best trip. Why was that?
Yeah, I think I've been taking teams overseas since like 1994, and it was. I think this was the best trip. You know, no lost bags, no canceled flights, no delays. Nobody got injured. The tour was well organized, and we just had a lot of fun. So it was a real success.
On the court, was it kind of like what we saw at Autzen with Portland State and Oregon, not really tested?
Yeah, the 2 games in Greece, the competition wasn't great, but listen, that's the least part of my concern on these trips. The main thing is that we have a chance to bond, get to know each other. The 10 practices that the NCAA allows us before we go. To me, that's the most important. And quite frankly, our game in London was really good. We played 2 quarters against the London Lions, and they beat us. And that was a good team. And then we played 3 quarters against kind of an all-star team and we played much better there and won. But, it was, a lot of players played well, and everybody got a chance to play significant minutes. So that part of it was positive.
Kind of unique to be that far away and play against somebody you coached like Holly. What was that just experience of seeing her, and how's she doing, I guess? Yeah,
seeing Holly was great. She's good. She's good, and I think she'll make herself eligible for this year's WNBA draft. It wouldn't surprise me that she gets drafted. And has a chance to make a team similar to Ina Ayuso a few years ago. So we've had actually a couple of one-and-dones, decided to turn pro after a year, but it was really good to see her and her parents and catch up. She's happy and doing well.
What ways did you feel like you grew the most over the practices and then the on-court experience, and then including the, I guess, non-on-court part of the trip?
Yeah, well, the practices are invaluable. I mean, they really are, because, we just don't get a lot of time to work out with our team, and we have half of our team is our newcomers. So, that part was really good, but there's no substituting for just time away. You get a chance to get to know people at a different level. We were supposed to go, and we're set to go in the summer of 2020 when we had all that great freshman class coming in, and I'd like to think that if we would have taken a trip like this then, you build deeper relationships with those players, and things might have ended up different, because that COVID year we couldn't even, once they were here, we couldn't even hang out with them. So we really had no opportunity to kind of bond, and so that's what these are for.
And how did you feel that went? I mean, did you see? I mean, obviously this is a smaller team than a football team if they're going to go on a trip, but everybody kind of knows each other. But did you see those relationships grow even more over the course of the time?
Yeah, no doubt. And I was really relaxed. The whole staff was relaxed. We had, just a lot of fun, and we had players that took care of business. They didn't do dumb things that sometimes you can do when you're on the road. And no, it was I tell you, all told, Chris was there with us, so he can attest to it. It was a fun time. Everybody got along, and we saw, I think most of our team, I think there are only 3 or 4 that have been out of the country before. So for them to experience something like this, I think can be humbling, number one, eye-opening for sure, and just the sense of history that you get when you're in Greece and then London. Their worlds were open to them, and they may not totally realize that now, but they will in time.
What did you learn maybe about just the way what this group can be, what the strengths can be, maybe areas that you think need to be improved upon, like focal points now going into the months ahead of the start of the season?
Yeah, I actually was impressed. A couple players really stood out. I thought Peyton Scott, played really, really well. And, I think she's going to be able to step in and really contribute a lot right away. I loved her leadership. We've got some jokers on the team, which is good, some personality. Chris knows who I'm talking about. I won't say their names, but it's a good way. It's an infectious kind of positivity. Kennedy Williams showed some good things. I thought Kennedy Basham played well. If you ask me, we know what Grace can do, we know what Philly can do, we know what Chance can do. Those are 3 that we're going to really rely on as our veterans. But I thought Sophia Bell was fantastic. She played great at both ends of the court. She made big impact. So I think we're going to see a real special player there.
You said both ends of the court. So what kind of things are you seeing there?
Yeah, well, she's a really good defender. So she's the one that's been picking up the ball for us in transition. She's really long. I mean, she's 6'1" and just long arms and great timing, and she can disrupt the other team. I mean, there were a couple times when she single-handedly, defensively, just, I think she made a couple of those kids cry, because she just, she was that good defensively. And then, I don't know, in our 3 games, what do you think, made 12 to 15 threes. I mean, she shot the heck out of it, and is good in transition. And so, yeah, I was really impressed.
That's Kelly Graves, Oregon women's basketball head coach. Great to hear from Coach Graves again, isn't it? The Ducks heading toward the season. Going to be here before we know it. About 2 months away from the start of basketball season. But it was one of those years where every 4 years, I believe, the programs can go on a foreign tour. And the women's basketball program was able to do that. I think that experience is a huge deal heading into next year. Full conversation with Coach Graves available on the Go Ducks YouTube. Thanks to Alex Stimson for making it available for us today. He went over and shot it at the arena this morning during football practice. Tomorrow, early show for those of you that watch live, 10:30 to 11:30. See you then.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course. You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high. Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different.